Hey, what's up, wannabes? We wanted to give you guys a quick heads up before we hop into today's episode. We've got some brand new merchandise available for you guys.
New merch!
We got that new.
Yeah, we do.
It is available on our merch shop for you guys to purchase. So give us your money. Scotty, tell them what we've got.
We got three all new designs. That's three. Let me get in my camera here. We got Party Skelly. We got Sick Ass Cowboys. We got Showing That You're a Cool Wannabe. We got it all. They are hot. They are fresh. They are new. Get your hands on them while you still can. Limited Ultra Edition. Like, these things are hotter.
Ultra rare.
These things are hotter than Pokemon cards, my dude. Like, get your fucking mitts on them.
And if you look right there, you'll see some examples of some of them. Right there. We're trying to learn
I
how to
did
do this
literally
thing.
both hands, so one was gonna be right.
The link will be down in the description. Check out the shop. We still have our old design up and available for you guys. But we are really happy with this new stuff. And a ton of different articles of clothing as well. We got shirts, different types. We got a baseball tee.
Get yourself a crew neck.
Got a crew neck.
Tank.
Got tank tops. We got crop tops for the ladies or for the guys.
Or
hey,
for the
whatever you
dudes.
like.
I might have ordered 2 crop tops, who can say?
Pixar, it didn't happen. Guys, we appreciate it. Check out the shop. Link down below. Now let's jump into today's episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We Don't Wanna. This is the podcast where 2 certified dipshits make uncertified takes on your favorite series. We're your hosts, as always. I am Scott, and joining me, as always, you look well suited for this podcast tonight, Zachy boy.
Well, I'm not.
Okay, good. It's Zachary. How are you
What's up,
doing
my
tonight?
guy?
What is up? Are you hype? Are you the
I'm
hype
hyped,
tonight?
man. We got a fucking hell of an
We
episode
do
to discuss.
have a hell of an episode. I'm so glad that you're well suited to record.
I'm definitely not.
You're definitely not, but we're gonna do it anyway. Probably. How's your week been, my dude?
It's been good. I feel like it's been kind of the same as what we have been saying on all of our last episodes. I've been watching a lot of baseball, playing a lot of video games, That's
It's kind of just how we live life right now during
that is. I mean, I feel like once like April starts through November, that's pretty much just like that's it, man.
No, that is well. Okay, so I've got a lot of hockey mixed in right now because it's the playoffs.
Oh, how are your Avs doing?
Well, they're up 2-1 in the second round.
Okay.
So they play tomorrow night, so I need to be watching that. But yeah, it's like baseball, video games, and then playoff hockey as well. So I'm getting real wild by throwing a curveball there in the mix. It's like, oh, hockey.
Oh.
Just when I think that I'm gonna zig, that's when I zag.
That's when you zag.
And then when they're ready for the zag, that's when I zog. So they're never gonna be ready
like
for
a
me.
lasagna.
Like a lasagna. What is that really stupid SNL sketch where what's
it's
his
the
name?
za.
Yeah, just
No,
keep
it's
saying
za. It's za.
Yeah. What is
pizza?
What is his name? Why am I forgetting his name right now? He's my boy.
Who
the
is
Pineapple Express guy.
Oh
shit! Why can I never remember his name lately?
what? Hold on.
It's the guy that did the room.
He's in Your Highness as well.
Yeah.
The fucking hot ass.
Yeah.
Guy.
Why am I the worst? He's got
Harry's,
that little brother
Harry,
that looks like
Oswald.
Were you trying to say Harry Osborn?
Osborne.
Wait,
I swear this is my first one.
I swear that's like your 6th one. Jeez.
No. James Franco.
Jeez.
And his even hotter younger brother too.
Hotter's maybe a stretch.
I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
There's some nice.
Let's talk
boys.
about no. We haven't filled our Robert Pattinson quota in a while. Let's talk about how
Dude, seriously. Actually, okay. So speaking of Robert Pattinson,
yes, let's have a legit Robert Pattinson conversation.
I rewatched The Batman, and I did not love it as much the second time.
I think that movie is very good. I don't think it's perfect.
I think after the recency bias kind of wear off, I watched it with maybe a little bit more of an objective lens, and I was like, this movie's long.
It's very long. It's too long, to be honest.
Dude.
There are definitely a lot of really great things. There's a lot of things to love, but that's why I was very hyped coming out of that movie theater, but that's why I didn't want to make a definitive all my friends were like, so it's the best Batman movie, yeah? And I was like, I don't think it's too soon.
I
for
felt
me to
like
make
that. I mean, look, I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, you definitely were.
Yeah,
I mean, let me
I do still think it's worth being in the conversation for sure.
I'd like to join the conversation.
Do you? Do you now?
Join the conversation.
But nah, man. You know what I think would have made that movie great?
A little bit of editing.
Well, if literally everything in the entire third act just went away. The whole water flood,
you're
everything.
Kind of right.
Just get rid of it.
That's a little harsh, but also you're kind of right.
No, it just needs to go, man.
Definitely get rid of the spoilers if you haven't seen the Batman yet. But the Riddler Joker scene, that is my least favorite scene in the entire movie. I think that scene sucks ass.
It's okay, but it's not great.
The best, I think we can all agree that the best parts of the movie involved my boy as the Penguin, Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell,
his Penguin was.
I mean,
incredible.
look. Okay, so look, aside from the movie as a whole, me giving shit about some of those kind of bigger things, nobody can say anything negative about any of the performances.
That's true, actually. Yes, across the board, the performances are excellent. Jeffrey Wright's fantastic as Gordon. Paul Dano's great. Zoe Kravitz is phenomenal as Catwoman. Across the board, the performances are. Oh, I always forget about him too, but he does a great job too. The guy that plays Falcone, is it Falcone or is it?
Yeah, what's his name? He always plays kind of an idiot.
Well,
kind of
not always
comedic idiot,
really
but he's really good in this movie.
Yeah, what is his name?
I don't know his name. Anyway, this is a Game of Thrones podcast.
Are we sure about that?
But before we jump in, I do have to say this. I have to tell you,
John Turturro.
Sure.
Yeah.
I literally, even if I had read that, I would have not known it was him.
Nah, I definitely know it's him. I like him a lot. I like him a lot as an actor.
You all know I've been watching The Last Kingdom show on Netflix.
Yeah, here we go.
I finished the 4th season, and I'm on to the last season of it. And oh man, it's good. I'm enjoying the absolute shit out of it.
Okay, hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you here, but how has this show possibly been going on for 5 seasons? And this is the first I have ever heard about it is within the past month.
So the first I heard about it was probably within a year ago, maybe.
I don't understand how this is possible.
Yeah, to be honest, that is kind of surprising. Another thing too is I couldn't name a single actor in that show.
You know what else it is?
Not a single one.
It's content overload. There's 63 different streaming services now, and every single one of them has 16 new shows a week, and it's just that's the thing. You guys tell me this is so good, and I don't even have the energy to go watch it.
Your boy wants you to watch it too.
Yeah,
right?
Floyd really wants me to watch it, and I'm going to for him, not for you.
Thanks.
But I'm just
Floyd. Okay. All right.
But it's just there's so much. I don't have the energy to keep up with any or all of it.
I get that. But I feel like if you're gonna give it the old college try, I feel like once you're this might sound bad because it takes a while to feel like this, but once you're like in the second season, just some of the side characters are just so enjoyable. And I have really just had a good time with that show.
Well, that's
because of that. So
that's fair enough. Speaking of side characters and being awesome, we should actually probably talk about Game of Thrones.
We should
because this is a big episode. This is episode 19, simply titled Blackwater. We will have a lot to discuss in this episode. So
this is the first
bottle episode, quote unquote.
Bottled episode, yeah. I forgot the term.
Not really a true bottle episode, but by Game of Thrones standards, it pretty much is, considering it all takes place in one city where there's not going to be any back east or back in Winterfell during our recap, which is just going to be a new one. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about with this episode, so that's why we took so long with our bullshit at the beginning. So
we just had to make it make sense.
We just had to make it make sense. I'm gonna jump in and start us off here, buddy. How does that sound?
Yeah. Why don't you tell us what happens in Blackwater?
All right. We begin our episode sailing through the night into Blackwater Bay with our newly appointed Admiral Davos, Hand of the King, leading their royal fleet to battle. Tensions are high. The men are terrified. There's a lot of vomiting going on, which is real gross.
Yes.
Davos tries to teach his son that there is more to a battle and a siege than faith alone, and they can win. There's much to do before Stannis can sit comfortably on the Iron Throne. Tyrion has a conversation with Shay about fear and fucking. Accurate. Cersei simply does not have the time or patience for a full conversation with Pycelle. Can't blame her. Brawn sings with his men in the barracks and tells a story about his poor nose beating up a whore's ass. His poor nose. There is a high tension conversation between Brawn and the Hound. The bells ring. We witness another great Tyrion Varys scene about trust, the dark arts, and Tyrion being the only hope for King's Landing. Stannis' fleet's drums answer the ringing of the bells. Joffrey has a lovely conversation with Sansa as he leaves for battle. Sansa seems to have a tighter grip on herself and her composure than we've seen before. Tyrion and Joff overlook Blackwater Bay from the walls, while Cersei gives Sansa a lesson on traitors and demands more wine, just like the late King Bobby B. Stannis' fleet sails into view. Joff is just a worried little cunt, and only one ship goes to meet the Baratheon fleet. Tyrion gives a signal, and Braun sends a single flaming arrow to ignite the trail of wildfire the ship is leaking throughout the bay. When the arrow strikes the wildfire, many things happen at once. Half the Baratheon fleet is blown away. Mathos, Davos' son, is blown away. Lannister army feels the blast from the walls. The pyromancer jizzes himself. And the Hound looks incredibly uncomfortable with the fire. Truly just so much happening in that moment. I like to focus on the pyromancer jizz myself. Blackwater Bay is covered in green flame, but Stannis presses forward and prepares to lay siege.
Cersei is just on an absolute tear with the words of wisdom to poor Sansa.
God.
Stannis lands and Tyrion orders a welcome party to hold them off. The Hound is truly inspiring for the men that meet Stannis' army, and the battle ensues. Cersei receives news of Stannis' army landing outside the city walls and orders Lancel to retrieve Joffrey and bring him to safety. She then tells Sansa the truth of why Sir Ilan Payne is really there. The Hound flees the battle after he becomes aware of the flames all around him, and Stannis and his men take the walls by ladder. He then delivers the best 3 fucks ever. Fuck the Kingsguard, fuck the city, and fuck the king, as he looks directly into Joff's eyes.
Fucking
so good.
Legend.
Dude, just legend.
Legend
Joff
status.
leaves... Yeah. Joff leaves the battle per Cersei's request. It was an urgent matter.
Yeah. What did she say exactly? Did it sound urgent?
Did it? Oh man, morale plummets instantly. Tyrion speaks up and rallies the men. Sansa flees to her room and finds the Hound. He offers to take her north with him to Winterfell. And Tyrion leads a successful ass fucking.
A successful ass.
Yeah, he does lead a successful ass.
True.
A successful ass fucking and stops the breach of the Mudgate. But there was another half of the army ready to give him the old reach around and ass fuck them. In the midst of the battle, Sir Mandon slashes Tyrion across the face and is killed by Podrick.
Mm-hmm.
Cersei prepares to give herself and Tommen essence of Nightshade. And just as the battle seems to be lost, Lord Tywin rides in with his newly formed alliance, House Tyrell, just in time to save King's Landing. The battle is over.
The battle is over. We have won.
We have won.
What a fucking baller. That is a hell of an episode.
Dude. It's so much.
It is a lot.
And I feel like I had to condense that recap a lot,
I mean,
too.
listen, like, this episode is difficult. I even floated the idea that maybe we shouldn't do a recap at all because, like, you just kind of have to watch it and experience this episode.
Seriously.
A recap truly does not do it any sort of justice. It is the first of its kind when it comes to, like, these kind of episodes for Game of Thrones. But you know what I was thinking was, like, when we did episode 9 of the first season, Baelor,
right.
We talked a lot about how TV didn't do things like this. Like when they kill Ned Stark, it's like, this didn't happen on TV shows. And I had the same thought, like, about Blackwater. Like, watching it for the first time, it was like, this doesn't happen on television. This is like a full-on Troy gladiator battle. Like, what are we doing?
This is
here?
like, so it's funny that you're mentioning this because I had a thought. I didn't make a note, but I had a thought that this episode is truly the second and third act of a movie.
Yeah.
Of an entire film.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't have the setup, right?
Right. The setup happens throughout the whole season.
In the first act.
Yeah.
Right. But this is truly, I mean, if this was a movie, this is act 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And it is just so intense.
It is.
And it's like, as a watcher who, obviously, if you're watching, like, intently, there are moments where it seems like, holy shit, I gotta catch my breath.
Right.
Like, this is there's just so much happening all at once. So much jizz everywhere from the Pyromancer.
So much jizz. Speaking of the Pyromancer, I forgot to mention this when we saw him the first time a couple episodes ago. Do you know who that is that plays the Pyromancer? Master Halen, I think his name is.
I don't know. Now that you're asking me, I feel like I should know.
We might have talked about this before. I don't know on the podcast, but you and I. But that is Roy Dotrice, who does the narration for the audiobooks.
Yeah, the late
Roy
Dotrice.
Roy Dotrice, who does the narration. He was originally supposed to play Grandmaster Pycelle, but it was like an illness or a prior commitment didn't let him do that, so they brought him on to play Master Halen instead, the Pyromancer. That is, yes. You have told me that before. Yeah, I thought I had.
And that just completely forgot.
Cool.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Cool little bit of trivia.
R.I.P.
Yeah. He does a good job narrating the audiobooks if you have listened to any of those.
Well, good.
He does
No. He is good at the setting. He just some of his pronunciation just fucks me in the
and
ass.
it's just like his women voices are very bad, but it's like, what are you gonna do? He's not a woman, you know?
Right, sure.
Anyway, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I like your analogy to, like, the second and third act thing. Oddly enough, as I was watching this episode again, it was the, like, quieter moments, like, especially in the beginning, that I was really appreciating, like, even more than the actual, like, fighting and combat.
There's no music.
Yes.
There's no other than, like, sound effects, like walking and them speaking and stuff like that. There's no like ambiance,
Right. They truly
until the
are
bells.
quiet moments, and it's like,
Yeah, it is absurd.
Yeah.
Even like when it cuts to Tyrion's scene where he's laying in bed, it's just not, like, and I thought about putting this in the recap, but I didn't want to make it seem too like if we were like reading something from a book, right? But that is one of the things that stood out, man. It's like there's these moments of just like when you feel like the silence is just so loud.
yes,
It's like, dude, this is so uncomfortably
Right.
quiet, you know?
yeah.
And it's so good. It's
is
like it does what it is supposed to do. It's so fucking rad.
It's very, very good. In these early moments, you know, you mentioned, or we talked about in the recap, like another amazing scene between Varys and Tyrion, and my absolute favorite. Like, there's a lot of good, just like, you know, content. Like the stuff they're talking about is very good in that scene.
Right.
But the part I loved the most is when Varys looks at Podrick and he's like, Podrick, is that it? And Tyrion goes,
Podrick.
Is that it? Nice touch. As if you don't know the name of every boy in town. And Varys kind of gives a little head tilt, and he's like, I'm not entirely sure what you're suggesting. And Tyrion
I'm entirely
just
sure you're
stone cold.
entirely sure.
I'm entirely sure you're entirely sure what I'm suggesting.
It's so good, dude.
It is so amazing. It's so funny. Tyrion is just, for him being, you know, very afraid, which he just had the conversation with Shay about, of course I'm
Fear and
fucking terrified. Yeah. The dude is like ice cold in this scene, which is Pod strapping on his armor. And it's so good. I love the scenes between them. This is, I feel like, one of the better ones.
I love when he, you know, so like we've seen Pod on screen like maybe once or twice before. But through rewatch, it's this episode that I obviously for something we're going to talk about later, but like it's this scene I think that makes you feel like, okay, this is somebody I need to care about.
Right.
Because Varys has the very subtle, like, do you trust him? And Tyrion looks at him and he's like, oddly enough, I do.
Yeah.
And
those types,
you know, we talk about
of lines have been sprinkled throughout the season too. Like when he was having his dinner with what's his name? Fuckface. The previous
Janos.
Yeah, Janos Slint. Where he's like, oh, he's an odd boy or something. Or no, maybe it's Cersei. A couple people commented about Podrick. And Tyrion basically is like, I myself kind of like the odd ones. You know, he's fine.
Right,
you know,
right.
like he gives acknowledgement to that he's fond of Podrick in ways.
Right.
So.
Love me some Podrick, and glad that he's around in this episode.
Definitely.
For sure.
And also just you look well suited for battle, my lord. Well, I'm not.
Well, I'm not.
Transitioning from there into, I just, the development of Braun and Tyrion's friendship is so good, and we see it in, you know,
quite literally, because they're talking about being friends.
Quite literally here, because if you will think back to them walking on the road of the Vale from the first season, where Braun literally says, I'm not your toady and I'm not your friend. And Tyrion's like, oh, as much as your friendship would be delightful, or, you know, what have you. To now here where they are, where Tyrion's like, don't die. Or Braun says, don't die. And Tyrion responds with, nor you, my friend. And they have their little back and forth. And it's just very good.
Yeah.
I love the development of their relationship so much. They're so good together. I just love them both so much.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the fleet for a second. I feel like we just kind of
Sure.
Like, I mean, and
we'll
this
probably
is
be
kind
jumping around in this episode because it's tough to keep
for
it,
sure.
Yeah.
So I mentioned it briefly. You mentioned it briefly, but really, this episode just like starting with like just the sound of the waves, and again, other than like what is really there, no music, nothing like that. It's so still. and I love the conversation that Davos. Like, we've talked about loving Davos several times, and this is just another glimpse into the fucking incredible character that he is when he has this conversation with Mathos, his son. His son is just so naive.
Yeah, I can't say I'm gonna miss Mathos though.
No, Jesus, fuck no.
I love Davos so much, but I feel bad for him, but I can't say I'm gonna miss Mathos.
Yeah, no. I like not even a little bit, man.
No.
I think
kills me every time because Davos is just like drums. And Mathos like steps in front of him, gets right in camera. Drums! I just probably peeked my microphone so hard. So good.
I
Did you not notice it?
I mean, like, of course I noticed it, but not like.
Oh man, it kills
like I was so bought into the scene that I just like it didn't take me out like that.
Rewatch it. He gets way up in camera and is just like, it's the best thing. I love it so much.
Oh, dude,
best
that's
thing
really
Mathos
funny,
has
man.
ever done.
That is really
For
funny.
sure.
Holy shit.
Actually, I take that conversation they had with Salvador Sand where was also really funny, but
I've never tried to fuck.
Yeah, I've never tried to fuck you. As if she just let you.
Can be very persuasive.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No. That's so funny, dude. Oh man.
So good.
The image of your face just being like, it's gonna be seared into my fucking eyelids,
God,
bro.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, I love the entrance of this episode. It's fucking great. It's quiet. It's and Davos is great. That's all I was trying to say.
I feel so bad for my poor dude Sir Davos. Like, he just gets obviously Tyrion has his plan that works very, very well, and Davos like doesn't even get a chance to flex his being the admiral of the fleet muscles. Are you still thinking about the drums?
Oh my god, Scott, dude, that's the funniest thing.
We'll have to put that clip on the social. Anyway, I do feel bad for my dude Sir Davos because he was on such a hot streak here, but just immediately gets his shit blown up, and it's not okay. Anyway,
yeah, it's not okay.
It's not okay. Let's talk real quick about the whole Brawn versus the Hound thing. This
let's do that.
Seems a bit odd and forced and out of place for me. I don't know if I've ever felt that way before. It just seemed kind of odd and out of place, but also Jerome Flynn and Rory McCann are both so good and charismatic that it almost makes this scene work for me, but it doesn't quite.
Yeah, I mean, so here the thing, so it's half and half. It works and it doesn't. Like, it works because this conversation and the way that they handle themselves is so true to their character. I just don't know why it happened.
Right, and why now? Of all times.
Exactly.
I suppose you could argue that either Joffrey wants his Hound to kill, his uncle's man, or whether it's just the Hound thinking killing is the sweetest thing there is, and here she thinks she's a hard man and I'm gonna kill him. It just seems like the timing is all weird. But like I said, Jerome Flynn and Rory McCann are both so good at what they do that it almost gets there. It almost works, but this scene doesn't quite get there for me. which is a shame because the prospect of like Brawn versus the Hound seems like gold. Like that would be an unbelievable fight to see. But
I'd put my money on Brawn.
That's tough. That'd be very, very tough. Speaking of the scene real quickly, did you know that Jerome Flynn, the actor who plays Brawn,
he's actually a
singer, yeah. And that's why they have this whole thing with him singing, and you know, she's like, "Oh, you've got a lovely voice. Thank you very much." That's just cool little.
Does he like make music, or is he just like a trained singer?
No, I think he did like him, and I think he had like I don't know if it was a band. There were a couple.
He's
of
a Canadian teen pop star.
No, not British maybe, but no, they like charted in the UK. I'm pretty sure. Like, so he's had like hits. I don't know what they are, but anyway.
I wonder what kind of music it is.
I couldn't say I know that either. Didn't do enough research, I guess.
I would, you know what? Like, okay, so it's probably some type of pop something, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was like some type of punk rock also.
I like to think that this was a long time ago when Jerome Flynn was very young and he was just like in a boy band. Like it's like the British NSYNC is what I want to believe.
No, I picture it being more like
because he's gorgeous. Like, he's so handsome.
His nose too,
his
man.
His nose. Don't feel too sorry for him.
It's gonna be halfway up your ass.
What else do you want to hit on, Zaggy Boy?
Yeah, so I do want to cut back. Like there's obviously a lot of great battle stuff that we can talk about, but I do want to kind of toggle back and forth this very interesting like dance that this episode does with like the high intense moments and then switching back to Cersei.
Yes.
Is first off, I want to give it some kudos because it would be incredibly easy for somebody to watch this and then it cut back to Cersei and feel like,
oh, we're back to this.
I want to go back to the fight, right? It never feels like that.
No. And I think
like not even a little bit.
The big reason for that is Cersei and Lena Headey, by extension, is in just rare form this episode. She is so consistently great throughout the entire thing. And also like we talked about, like we mentioned in the recap, like Sansa is showing signs of like, I don't know how you phrased it, but like kind of like holding her own and like having those moments where she is, I don't know how to say it, like being clever or like
she's just more aware, I think. Like
right. She's like, you know, there's the whole thing she pulls with Joffrey, which is really good, where she's like, oh, of course, I'm such a stupid girl. Like, of course you'll be right in the front. They say my brother always goes where the fighting is the thickest.
Dude.
Like, that's just like, that's such good. Like, she can't.
She's playing him like a fiddle.
She's playing like a fiddle. And that's the thing. That's all basically all she can do. But she's doing it and she's doing it well. So props to her. And then, like, oh man, all the scenes with Cersei. And Cersei just getting progressively more drunk as like the night goes on.
Her like, so her smile starts with her regular just like kind of side smile, and then every time it cuts back to her, it's that more like crooked like Lena Headey smile.
Dude.
That's iconic.
Yes.
Again, it's good.
Big shout to her because she kills it this episode. I think my favorite line of hers is when she calls Sansa over and she's just like, "What are you doing?" And Sansa's like, "You were praying." And she just goes,
"Oh, you're just perfect
aren't you?" Praying. It's the way she says praying. It's just like, that's the most ridiculous thing she's ever heard. It's so good. Oh, she's phenomenal.
Great moments there. Like there's not, I feel like there's not like one specific thing that's like done or said that I'm like, oh, this is just like perfect or incredible. But I really just wanted to spend a second with like that. I mean, I guess really just her performance, because you and I have talked about like how good I never know how to say it. Lena Headey.
I think it's Lena.
We've talked about how great she is, but she's not someone that comes up in conversation as often because her character is not as likable as some of
Sure.
the other powerful performances,
For sure.
and like she still owed her dues. Like
Right.
it in episodes like this and other ones that we've mentioned, it truly is impeccable that you don't feel edged or blue balls from toggling from the
Right.
war to these scenes. It obviously the pace is slower, but the momentum carries it, and Lena Headey just shines really, and even Sophie Turner does a
Yes.
good job too. But Lena Headey especially is just fantastic.
She kicks
so.
the absolute shit out of Sir Lancel. That motherfucker.
Dude.
Just like, oh, you got a wound there, do you? Bop.
Dude,
Um,
Lancel sucks.
Dude, Lancel
bro.
sucks so much. The look on his face is very priceless when the Hound is walking past him and is like, you too. And he's just like, oh.
Yeah, dude.
Very quickly, by extension, you mentioned something that I want to just springboard off of real quick. You mentioned how because she's not a likable character, we probably don't call out her performance as much as we do. Quick shout out to his name has escaped me right now, but the kid that plays Joffrey, because that's like
Jack Gleason.
Yeah, Jack Gleason. Same thing for him. He's not likable, so we don't talk about it a lot. But he does a flawless job of portraying Joffrey as just this shitty little lick spittle. So hats off to him.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's such a bummer. You and I maybe have talked about this on the podcast before, and I'm sure many Game of Thrones fans know this, but if you didn't, Jack Gleason received so much hate.
Yeah.
Because of his performance as Joff.
Yeah.
He's not acted since Game of Thrones.
Right.
He does do like stuff with the college where like he'll do like plays, and he does teach some acting if I'm not mistaken. But he is just kind of completely taking himself away from like television and movies, because of the just shitty fans.
That's so not cool.
It's so
like
fucked
he's
up.
playing a role and he's doing great at it. Like, fine to hate the character. Don't hate the actor. Like, what the hell is up with that?
Man.
That's such weird behavior.
Right.
I'm sure that's none of our fans. But yeah, it's he does a great job, similar to Lena Headey, and I just wanted to shout him out because when they're not super likable characters, it is sometimes tougher to give them the props that they are due. So,
right, for sure.
Can we talk about the Hound,
dude? Yeah, man, there's a lot here.
Fucking Hound, dude.
There's a lot to unpack here, man.
Yes.
It's so good.
He is.
He has so many good lines in this episode, dude.
He is similar to Lena Headey. Roy McCann is in extremely rare form in this episode. I feel like this is the first time we truly get to see him as a full character. Not just as a...
That's true.
Not just as this, like, kind of sinister, imposing force, this presence that we have seen throughout the series to this point.
We've seen breadcrumbs.
Right. Like, when, like, in the first season when Littlefinger is, like, telling Sansa the story of how he got burned and everything. Like, little breadcrumbs, stuff like that. But we actually see him reacting, like, seeing that trauma, that, like, you know, post-traumatic stress that he has due to that, like, affecting him here. And at some point, it breaks him. You know, he's had enough. And he, you know, flees, basically, the battlefield. And I love that, unlike his brother, the Mountain, who is just kind of this unstoppable juggernaut, the Hound does have that more of a fleshed out full character where he has these like experiences and these feelings and this, you know, fear of the fire, obviously, and that it affects him. And I appreciate so much that they take the time to let that character have his moments. He's still a badass. He's still hilarious. He's still cool.
Yeah.
But also, like, there's so much trauma and pain there that it breaks him and he flees the battlefield. and then we get the scene between him and Sansa, which is also very good. And I just love it because we're getting, you and I have teased several times that like, oh, we love the Hound's time will come, blah, blah, blah. Right. And this is like the first big dose we get of it. And it's just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, so it really starts when Tyrion orders them to go meet the invasion.
Right.
And they call for arrows and fire.
If any of these flaming fucking arrows come anywhere near me,
I'll strangle you with your fucking guts, or whatever he says.
Yeah,
dude.
That's it. He's so good.
Yeah, it is very good. And it's funny, again, too, without paying too much attention, that would just come off as like him just being kind of a dick and like, this monster. But with a little more substance and I guess looking for the character moments for him, it stands out as like, yeah, man, this dude is scared shitless of the fire, and
they do a good job of like sprinkling those little, in case you like were having trouble forgetting, that story way back in season 1. There are little hints of like his thing with fire, like the line that he says there, or like when the pyromancer walks in front of him with like the torch and he, like flinches way back, or obviously when the big fucking wildfire explosion goes off, which still looks incredible to this day. I don't think we shouted that out enough.
Yeah, dude.
It looks so cool. Phenomenal CGI on that green fire. But yeah, there are those little tidbits where it's like, the Hound and fire don't mix. And then he has maybe my favorite, I don't know, there's a lot of great lines in this episode, but maybe my favorite line as they're going out the door. He's such a charismatic battle commander, just really inspiring to his men.
He just touches their hearts.
Their hearts with
and their tips.
Any man dies with a clean sword, I'll rape his fucking corpse. Just phenomenal.
This guy is just a menace, man.
He is
a fucking demon.
He is an absolute menace.
He's so fun though. Like despite him just being so like crude and just vulgar and just mean, he's just so fun. Yeah. Like even before this, although this is I think the best of him that we've had so far. Even before this, it's just you can never not enjoy him on screen.
And again, I shout it out all the time, but I think I cannot say enough about Rory McCann's performance of him, because in the books, like, the Hound is not this charming of a character. Like, he's okay and he's interesting and he's fine and he has his moments, but like Rory McCann elevates him to like one of my favorite characters in the series, just because of the way he portrays that character, and I just can't say enough good things about it. Also, when he comes back in after he's out there fighting, also shouts to Brawn for saving his life, even though they just almost threw down.
Yeah.
The Tyrion just, can I get you some iced milk and a nice bowl of raspberries? Eat shit, dwarf. They're just back and forth is amazing.
You're on the wrong side of the wall.
It's so good. It's so good. And then we get obviously the legendary fucks, where Sandor Clegane, he's had enough. He's just like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Super out, and he leaves. And the thing that I love so much is that the Hound is such a badass, no one raises a hand to stop him.
Yeah, they're just like, well,
that's too bad. Yeah, oh shoot, he's gone now, huh? He just said fuck the king, but we're just gonna let that slide, right? Okay, good. Yeah, I don't want to fight that guy. It's very, very good. Very good.
So Joff receives his summons from his mother.
So funny.
And yeah, this is if we saw more of this Joff, I would love it. I would love him.
This is like legitimately,
it is so
funny.
Because like obviously we have like tantrum throwing Joff.
Yes. This is like
and
true fear Joff, which we haven't seen.
Well, so what I was gonna say is that like even tantrum throwing children have this.
Yes.
Like every one of them has this.
Yeah.
Where like something scares them and they're like, "You're not so tough
Yeah.
anymore."
Oh shit, I'm not so tough now. Yeah.
And like it really does just remind me of being a kid. Like just like trying to look for a reason to like get out of something you don't like. Like, what did she say exactly?
Did it sound urgent?
Did it sound? Oh man, I think I gotta go, guys.
Oh guys, shit. You're gonna have to. Yeah, I gotta get out of here. Sorry.
You'll represent the king.
Yeah, you'll represent the king. My hands are tied here. She called me back.
Oh my god, what a fucking baby cunt.
Before all this, a scene we have to talk about that I almost forgot about is the whole bit where they do the tell the hound to tell the king.
Oh my god, yes, please.
It's so funny. because first Joff like says something to Tyrion and Tyrion's like, "I'm busy, bitch. I'm not paying any attention to you." So then Joffrey's like, "The hound, tell Tyrion that blah blah blah." And the hound very dutifully does it. But then the way better part is when Tyrion just comes back with, "Sir Lancel, tell the hound to tell the king that the hand is very busy at the moment." And Sir Lancel does it.
he tries doing
He tries because Sir Lancel, if we know anything about that motherfucker, is he is just a cowardly
an absolute idiot.
Yeah, and an absolute idiot. And that scene made me laugh so hard. They have done a phenomenal job of mixing the humor into this very like intense dramatic battle.
Right.
Because there actually is quite a bit of
I'm so appreciative of it because it makes our job so much easier.
Yes. For sure.
Like episodes that are grim like this
Yeah.
or like just like heavy like this. I mean, we still have fun talking about it because it's Game of Thrones, but you know, we got to throw in the jizz joke at least once an episode.
We have to. We're required by law. Our hands are tied.
Yeah, like if you guys are listeners of our Harry Potter series that we did, some of those last episodes of Harry Potter, no jizz jokes. Like just like who are we?
I'm pretty sure we found a way. We found a way somehow.
We did find a way to jizz joke.
Oh man. What else do you want to hit here, pal? I'm getting close to getting on notes here.
So I have okay, so we just talked about actually, you know what? Let's get off of Tyrion for just a second. Let's hop back over to Stannis. This guy is just
relentless.
That's a perfect way to describe him. Yeah, this guy is stone-faced.
Yeah.
You know, prepare for siege or whatever he says, and they're like, the dude's like, hundreds of men will die, and he just stops and is like,
he does like a little sniff.
No.
He's like, thousands. Yeah.
It's like, okay, tight, dude.
Yeah. I
love that for us.
He's very just cold and relentless, but at the same time, I got to give him props for like, he's like the first man onto the beach.
Yeah.
He's like the first dude up the Ladders to the walls. He's fucking holding his own on those walls too.
Oh yeah, dude.
He's getting some shit done.
We have heard several times about him being a very accomplished battle commander.
Correct.
It was this rewatch that I acknowledged that he's portrayed in the show, at least, as a very skilled fighter as well. Because their two are not always tied, right?
Correct.
I appreciate dude, this guy's like in there. Yeah, for sure. And it's like it's a bloody mess, dude. Like he is. When they are trying to, I think it's when they're trying to batter the. Is it when they're trying to batter the door? One of the men that's standing right next to him gets a boulder thrown on his head and just splat, just like right open in front of him.
Shouts out to the dude who gets his head just literally exploded by a rock.
Baratheon soldier number 72. Yes. R.I.P. my guy.
R.I.P. brother.
I almost put this in the recap. But dude, when it cuts back to Stannis' face, first off, he's like, well, okay,
oh, shit.
There's no like shock.
No.
But it looks like ketchup splatter on his face. It really does. Like it's just very thick.
Oh.
And it just straight up looks like somebody got a ketchup packet and just like.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have a problem with the makeup department's fake blood, do you?
Yeah, I need to have a conversation. I need to speak to your manager, please.
Okay. Well, Karen needs to speak with the manager of the makeup department. But yeah, Stannis. I think even Tyrion makes a comment like when Stannis, has that conversation and they start coming ashore. Tyrion says something to the effect of, "He's a hard man." That's Stannis Baratheon, or something to that effect. Basically, being like, "Boy, we sure did blow up a good chunk of his fleet, but they are
and he is
still
here.
coming." Yep.
Yeah.
So, good on Stannis because, they still would have absolutely won this battle if not for, obviously, the surprise appearance of Tywin and the Tyrell alliance that really just fucks him in the ass.
So let's, but before we get into kind of like that, like, what's the word?
Finale,
climax.
There you go. Our favorite word.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Hell
yeah, dude. Let's talk about Sansa and the Hound for a second.
Okay.
So Sansa and the Hound.
Mm-hmm.
This scene, it always like confused me the first couple of times I watched it.
Yeah, I don't love how they edit it, how they end it.
So
to be honest,
you and I have talked before about how this show does a very good job at respecting the viewer and their intelligence, and kind of like leaving some things for us to piece together, and it not having to just kind of blatantly tell you everything that's happening.
Sure.
Right? It still just does baffle me a little bit that Sansa gets to her room and he's just sitting in her room.
Like, I don't have too much of a problem with that per se.
I fill it in with saying, okay, if his intentions are to go north, he has displayed a soft spot for Sansa.
Right.
He's going to extend the invitation to her, right? Which is what he does.
Right.
It is just interesting to me, though, because, like, how would this guy know that she's going to go to her bedroom? Like all the women are supposed to be down and, like, with Cersei.
Right.
Like, so would this guy have just sat there until whenever? Like, I guess it is just a little odd.
It's a little plot convenience, like just contrivance there. I just don't love the way it's ended, because it's like he extends the invitation, she refuses, she's like, no, I'm safer here. And then there's like almost this like reconciliation moment between them where she's like,
she says,
you're not gonna hurt me, and he's like, no, little dove, I'm not gonna hurt you, or little bird. I think it's Cersei that always calls her little dove. And then he like starts to walk out, and the way that it's shot, it like strongly leads you to believe that she's going.
That Sansa's gonna go after him.
Yeah, right. That she's going with him.
Right.
And the spoilers for the next episode, I guess, but she doesn't.
She doesn't.
She just, then the next time we see her, she's just standing in the throne room, like at court. And it's just, it's a weird transition from she's like being, oh no, I'm gonna stay, to them then having this kind of almost reconciliation, to then it strongly leading you to believe that she goes with them, to next episode just oops, oh nope, I guess she didn't.
Right.
So I don't love the way that they edited that, the way they kind of left it hanging that way, because it just seems odd to me. But that's a bit of a nitpick, the scene itself is very good.
It is good, and the Hound is almost more terrifying in this low lit room than on the battlefield.
Yeah,
it's just honestly terrifying.
Yeah, but again, I love that they have given so much weight to his character with almost so little, where he's just like, you can tell he's just kind of not quite broken, but just like defeated in this moment, where he's just like, the king can die fine enough on his own. And he's just like, he doesn't even know where he's going. He's just like, north, maybe. I don't really know. It's somewhere that's. I think the words he says, somewhere that's not burning. And it's good stuff. It's a solid scene.
Yeah.
And again, shouts to Sansa as well.
Yeah, that's actually kind of what I was going to mention here too, is that like we've had several good scenes in this episode where Sansa is one of the contributing factors to that, and I feel like that has not been the case.
Right.
Nothing against Sophie Turner, but younger Sansa performances have always just been kind of meh.
Yeah.
And she definitely seems like she's kind of coming to the character
for sure.
More.
Definitely, I agree.
So I do actually. First off, we've had to go back to this twice because one, we've almost forgot the back and forth, the tell the Hound or tell the King, whatever, right? That whole thing. But Joffrey gets pissed off and is like, I could tell the Hound to cut you in half right now, and he'd do it without a second thought. And then he's like, Tyrion turns to him and he's like, well, then I would be called the Quarterman. It doesn't have as nice of a ring to it. It's like, dude, this cheeky fucking bastard in the middle of the siege. I love him so much.
The Quarterman is a great comeback. Yeah, Tyrion gets his real like hero scene here, and it goes very well for him. For a time, yes, please hit us with the speech.
Yeah, so so we're picking this up when Joff leaves.
Yes, right.
And everybody is like, morale has just like plummeted through the fucking ground.
We need to get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to fight. We're dead. Yes.
And so he convinces them to stay and listen to him at least. And he says, they say I'm half a man, but what does that make the lot of you? And then somebody says something to the extent of like, that's the only door, like it's blocked or something. And he goes, well, there's another way out and I'm going to show you. We'll come out behind them and fuck them in their asses. Don't fight for your king and don't fight for his kingdoms. Don't fight for honor. Don't fight for glory. Don't fight for riches because you won't get any. This is your city, Stannis means to sack. That's your gate he's ramming. If he gets in, it'll be your houses he burns, your gold he steals, and your women he will rape. Those are brave men knocking at our door. Let's go kill them.
That's the stinger.
Oh, that is the stuff right there, dude. Stuff. It's so fucking rad.
Yeah, it's a great
and
speech.
They do exactly that for a time. Yeah. For a time, of course.
Real quick, I gotta shout out because Tyrion does come out and does some shit with his axe. The line earlier in the episode with Brawn, where Brawn asks him if he knows how to use that axe, and Tyrion's like, I chopped some wood once. Oh, wait, no, I watched Jamie chop some wood. And then Braun's just like, well, I saw you kill a dude with a shield, so you'll be unstoppable with an axe. Is also very, very good. And yeah, Tyrion does go out, and he gets him some good shit with that axe. And, you know, they have that quick moments where it seems like they're winning, and then just... oh, here comes the rest of Stannis's, army. And I love just the Tyrion, oh, fuck me. Which is very, very good.
Yeah.
And then, we get the big turn. This was unexpected.
I wish we knew more of this character. I really wish, because I just feel like it would be... I mean, it's a big deal regardless. Right. So, don't misunderstand me. But like, had this been,
they could have built him up better.
Just a little. Yeah, because like we don't really know of Sir Mandon until this episode, I feel like. Correct me if I'm wrong. But,
definitely.
And obviously more so after this, but Mandon Moore, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. He's one of the Kingsguard. And there is one of Stannis' soldiers that's killed standing between them, and Tyrion gives Mandon Moore the old, like,
hey, what's up?
Like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
like,
let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. And this motherfucker just, like, takes a couple steps and slashes at his face. Let me actually also ask this. How in the fuck is this motherfucker a Kingsguard and he doesn't even know his own arm length, like his own reach.
Tyrion,
he goes in for a kill swipe and just.
He's real quick on the jerk back.
Oh, come on, dude. You know what? Actually,
he's got those
I have
cat-like reflexes.
It's the height.
It's the height.
He didn't account for the height.
He's not used to fighting dwarfs, you know.
Yeah. There we go.
Definitely.
Okay.
And then our boy Pod comes in with the big time save, just shoves a spear right through the back of his fucking head. It's a real baller move by Pod.
Very baller move.
Love us some Pod. I'm doing this Pod. So bad. But yeah, not a good thing for Tyrion. His face is real fucked up, and he is like bleeding out on the ground when you know, the cavalry comes riding in to kind of save the day. But yeah, this is a big thing. This is, you know, a member of the Kingsguard trying to kill a member of the royal family and the current acting hand of the king.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a big deal, to be sure.
Yeah. First time I watched this, I thought that Tyrion would probably be dying soon.
Like, you thought he would die at some point during the battle, or you thought this wound would kill him after you saw this?
I kind of thought that the wound would kill him, or he would be like healing from the wound and then he'd get killed.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I maybe I just wasn't really thinking about it like as big picture. Like, I guess it wouldn't make sense to take him out, but I felt the contempt, you know?
Yeah.
From the forces that be.
The forces that be are powerful. Real quick, before we move into our final segment, we have to touch on Cersei and Tommen.
Oh.
I like this scene so much because they're just she's there with him. They're sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, I thought about writing out the story that she was telling. Right. It's great. It's so good.
It's very good, but it's just like, you know, it's like she's here. She's not going to let, you know, she doesn't want everyone. Let me start over here. She has heard the stories about what happened the last time King's Landing was sacked, about how terribly, like, the children, the princes and the princesses, what happened to them. And she obviously does not want that for her young son. So she is willing to, you know, kill her son, kill herself, to just basically peacefully with the essence of Nightshade. They just go to sleep and die to prevent that from happening. And you can tell, again, big props to Lena Headey's performance. Like, she is like crying. It's like this whole thing is like tearing her up inside, and she's like,
also really drunk.
She's also really drunk, but it's like, it's tough not to have, you know, Cersei is not a good character, but it is tough in like this moment not to have like sympathy for her.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, she's the antithesis of Catelyn. I mean,
right,
same qualities as Catelyn, just for the quote evil house, right? Right. She's a fierce mother.
Yes,
and it's her best attribute.
Definitely,
it's her best character attribute.
That and her cheekbones.
By a mile.
That and her cheekbones.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, the story's very good. But then, right then, our dude Lord Tywin comes in, delivers the "We have won." Just such a baller in his armor, and that's Blackwater. And it is, what a fucking trip this episode is.
Yeah, man, this is something else.
Yeah.
It's this type of bottle episode will only happen, Scott, 4 more times.
4.
It's 5 total, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds about right. I 2 for sure off the top of my head. I can't think of what the other 2 would be, but
well, so it's Blackwater, Hardhome, Bob.
No, Hardhome's not one.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, is it
Watch it? Well, I don't know how much we should even talk about this. Watches on the Wall for sure. When Night of the
Bob is one, right?
Night of the Seven Kingdoms is one, I'm pretty sure.
Battle of Bastards is one. I'm almost positive it is.
You might be right on that one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't happen very often. And this was the first one. This was like we said, this kind of episode didn't happen on television. I will say, as I watched this is not, I'm not trying to put down this episode at all, because I think this episode is phenomenal. The battle itself, the fighting, like especially like once they're beyond the walls and stuff like that, wasn't as impressive as I remember. It seems a little lower budget, but I think part of that is like Game of Thrones is almost a victim of itself, because later battles in the series raise the bar so much even higher, that this one seems at times like a little bit lower,
soft.
a little soft by comparison. It's almost like,
Sure.
Game of Thrones is like, it's like, oh yeah, this was done way better a couple years later by Game of Thrones once again. So,
Right.
but for its time, it is incredible.
You know what's crazy though is like, even if this was the budget or the production that we received on future battles, I would still be okay with it.
No,
Like,
for
it's
sure.
still great.
It's still phenomenal, and it is, like we talked about, even like, it's the quiet moments more than anything in this episode that I love more.
Yes.
And this was, I've talked several times this season about how season 2, definitely not my favorite season, but this was the third thing. I said there were 3 things. One was, Tywin and Arya's scenes together, Tyrion being a baller, and then Blackwater was the third one. Just, This episode will always be, I mean, it is season 2, the first thing that comes to the top of your mind when you think of season 2. Like, this episode is a high watermark for the series, and especially for
First
the
thing
season.
that comes to my mind when I think of season 2 is Tywin Arya.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
Listen,
I mean,
fair
legitimately,
enough.
it's just, it happens so many times,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
it's such a treat every time it is, and that's just what I relate to it. And on rewatch, it's almost a little bit disappointing because it's not more than because there's still so much more season other than those scenes that I'm like,
I think it came along later in the season than I expected, than I remembered. Like, was their first one wasn't like until episode like 4 or 5 of this season.
I think it's like I think it's in episode 3 or 4.
Oh, whatever. Time is a flat circle.
So time is a flat circle.
Time is a flat circle. Are we ready? Did you have any other thoughts you needed to get to? We might have a tough time with our final segment.
This
here.
is gonna be a hell of a who be thrown in.
Shit.
Are we? Hold on. Wait. Are we? Before we jump into this, I mean, you've already mentioned several times that we're doing the list of best episodes, or I'm sorry, best scenes. Are we doing a list of best episodes as well?
I'm sure we probably will. Hashtag content,
Do you want to put this in that bucket? Because I think I do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this wouldn't be the first one. We haven't really formally done this. I think
we haven't formally done it. You're right. Okay.
Episodes a lot easier to parse out. Well, I
you're right.
say that, but not all of them are. There are some like sleeper hits, but maybe we do need to start doing that.
I think we do.
This
I
one
think this is our first
certainly a contender.
Inductee to the
okay.
To the conversation.
But there will be season 1 episodes that are part of that conversation as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, let's jump into our final segment here, which of course is Who Be Thrown In.
Who be thrown in?
I gotta say, I feel like who goes on this list might be relatively easy. The placements are gonna be hell. Because I can think of like at least 3 characters that deserve number 1, like off the top of my head. So this is gonna be
okay.
brutal.
Well, all right. Well, let's
and Davos can come off.
Arya off.
Sorry, my guys, but you suffered a stunning defeat.
Arya also comes off.
Arya also comes off. Obviously not. Episode. Tyrion has a phenomenal episode up until a point, and then he gets the point of a sword in his face. I think he probably still makes the list, though.
Oh yeah, in my opinion, I have a strong case.
Okay, I will hear that. Braun has a strong case. to make the list. I don't know if he will quite make it, but I think he might hang for now. The ones
The
we
Hound.
definitely have to make room for are the Hound, Cersei,
Tywin.
Where are you, Tywin? The jizzing pyromancer. No, I'm gonna have to find one, buddy. Do you want to do your little thingamajig?
Yeah, hey, if you guys are not already following us on the Twitter and the Instagram and even Facebook, you can find us on all of the three at We Don't Want a Pod, or just follow the links in our descriptions. We would love to see you guys there. We post updates, sometimes funny memes, sometimes clips from the show, maybe previews or things like that. And also, I can't remember if I've said this on the podcast before, but we have slowly but surely started uploading some short clips, maybe funny clips or good takes on a TikTok. So if you guys would like to follow us there, that would be really cool, and we would love the shit out of that support. Also, if you're new here on YouTube, if you have not already figured this out, you're about an hour into this episode, but we're talking Game of Thrones this season. We do have several other series, though, where we have gone through Harry Potter, One Piece, Lord of the Rings, The Wheel of Time. So if you need two dipshits to tell you what to think about some good nerdy shit, stick around. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, all that fun stuff that you're supposed to do on YouTube. And yeah, we would appreciate the shit out of that. Scott, I hope I bought you enough time because I'm done talking.
I can't find a good picture of my dude. I'm looking for Podrick. In case
Podrick.
That was not.
Podrick needs to be
evidence.
On this list.
Podrick definitely needs to be on this list, but I cannot find. Oh boy. We'll just go with this one, I guess.
You can take your time. We can cut. I can cut a little bit.
Suck.
I'm gonna try and find one.
They're all from like way later in the show, and I don't necessarily want that. That's pretty good.
There are good ones, but you're right. They're all from later in the series.
All right, we got it. We got this. Pod. Whoa, big one.
Heyo.
There he is.
I have heard he does have a big one.
I have heard that as well. Oh boy, this one needs to be cropped badly.
Can you crop in this?
Yes, I can. I'm just trying to remember how to do it.
like I said, it's cool. Take your time, man. I'll make a note for myself to.
Here we go.
Cut some stuff.
More. Boom. Better. Boom. All right, we got him. There he is, old Podrick Payne. Podrick of House Payne.
Is he related to Ilyn Payne?
He is. Cousins, I believe. Maybe distant cousins, but he is from the same house as Sir Ilyn Payne. In fact, quick little trivia tidbit here for you.
Love it.
Podrick Payne would have been hanged before we ever meet him as Tyrion's squire if Lord Tywin had not heard that his last name was Payne and decided that he might be useful, that he was a boy who had a name with a house with a, decently respectable name, and basically saved him and then sent him to be his son Tyrion's squire.
What was he going to be hanged for? Do you know?
So he was squiring for a knight who was in charge of the baggage train, I believe, of the Lannister army.
Okay.
And he basically was skimming supplies, like extra food and stuff like that. And he stole I'm not making this up, by the way, this is in the books. He stole a very special ham that was meant for Lord Tywin.
Interesting.
So he shared the ham, this night, I do not remember his name, with Podrick, his squire. And Lord Tywin found out and they were both going to be hanged for stealing. But Lord Tywin heard his last name was Payne and decided to spare him.
Interesting. Well, that's cool.
There you go. There's a little trivia tidbits for you. We love our bits here
That is pretty neat.
on the show. That's pretty neat. Is there anyone else? I feel like these are the strongest contenders.
Yeah, I think
The only one I can think of other would be Sansa, but I don't think
know.
she beats any of
I have
these.
to admit, even though Stannis lost, I'm surprised you cut him from the list so quickly.
He gets his shit pushed in.
He's just such an impressive commander, I think.
He is, but maybe if there wasn't such...
If Tywin hadn't showed up, man, he would have won.
I mean, he would have, but Tywin did show up. If there wasn't some strong standouts already here, I could see it.
Sure.
But, like, the Hound has to make the list. Cersei has to make the list. Tywin has to make the list. Podrick has to make the list.
Okay, so I'm just going to start strong here.
Okay.
I know that you are considering Tyrion to be cut from the list or
I'm not
dropped down.
saying that.
I still think he's number one.
Oh, I can't get behind that. I can't
I
get behind that.
still 100% think he's number one.
He is phenomenal, and he deserves all the credit in the world. But also, he nearly dies. He gets his face half cut off.
The Hound nearly dies.
No, the Hound's fine.
The Hound nearly dies.
The Hound's fine.
Look, despite that, everything that happened at Blackwater was a product of Tyrion owning this entire season. Literally everything.
Okay, fair.
Except for Tywin showing up. That is the one thing that he did not foresee and control.
Well, he didn't foresee a member of the Kingsguard or control a member of the Kingsguard trying to kill him. Also, like, if this is all your thing for this, like, you would have to put Pod ahead of him because he'd literally be dead if not for Pod. He'd be actually dead.
Okay, no. This is a great argument here. I understand your point, but even if Tyrion had died by that, he still saved King's Landing. He held off
Fair
Stannis
enough.
long enough to let Tywin show up and, quote, save the day. His plan with the pig shit, with the wildfire, he rallied the men to go protect the Mudgate. Literally, the city would have been sacked by the time Tywin got there if it had not been for Tyrion's just absolute tear through this season.
Yes.
And his crazy ability to be a commander.
All this is true, but you're just ignoring the fact that he's dying currently. He's severely wounded at the very least.
That is such... The weight on the scale is nothing compared to everything else that he has done in this episode and everything leading up to this episode. This episode would be shambles
this is a
without him.
You're trying to reward him for like a culmination of the season, but we've already rewarded him a ton of times for his work throughout the season.
We didn't reward him for coming up with the plan of the wildfire before.
Not that that specifically, but like he's been like number one like a bunch of times this season.
That doesn't mean he needs to get knocked down.
No, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying like you're trying to make it all about this culmination of his efforts, which is all true, but he's also been rewarded for those efforts in previous episodes. I'm saying right here, right now, he is lying in the mud, bleeding out and dying, and would have died if not for the valor of his squire. And yes, he deserves a high place on this list, but for me, number one is Queen Cersei. Because
on what ground? What did she do this episode other than have a good performance?
She has the best performance, I think. Maybe very close with the Hound. And she is like winner, winner, chicken dinner. Her city is saved. She doesn't get wounded.
Oh, who saved her city?
Well, you could argue Lord Tywin saved her city. In fact, I would argue that
you're worse than all the people that don't give Tyrion credit for that.
Tyrion partially saved the city. Okay, let me clarify something for you here. Had Lord Tywin not shown up, would Tyrion have saved the city?
No.
Okay, there you go. So Tyrion did not save the city. He saved the city for a moment. He delayed.
Had Tyrion not had done what he did, would Tywin have had a city to save?
So that's what I'm saying. They're both partially responsible, which means Cersei goes number one.
Nah, man. I just don't. So, like, if we're talking about who has the best performances, then sure. But
yes, I'm also saying that.
But then sure, maybe I can kind of get behind that. Although I do still think Tyrion's performances throughout this are
Tyrion's
fantastic.
Performance is good, but it's like it's nothing.
It's just not dramatic performance
special.
Like you like.
Right? Yes. No. That is a big part of it. You're correct. He has sick one-liners and like sick moments, but he doesn't have anything like the most dramatic moment he has is with like Shay and Varys, and it's like solid, but it's not the moments that the Hound and Cersei have.
That seems like one piece of the pie to award them such a high spot. Look, here's the reason I can't get behind Cersei being so high. She did not directly affect her position at the end of this episode. She did not make any of that happen. Like I would rather this argument be that Tywin goes above Tyrion. I still wouldn't have it, but that would make more sense.
I will not have it. I had that thought, but he's so like it's more like this is like a prelude leading to the next episode is kind of going to be his. Like he still definitely deserves a placement on the list, I think, because he does save the city. But he's also in the episode for about 10 seconds. And it's
okay, not only is Tyrion accomplished in this episode, like with like holding the Mudgate and that, that whole stuff, but like he also is a man who does not have respect by anyone. And then he, in the middle of people wanting to lay down their arms and quit and go home, he somehow is able to rally those people. That is just such a huge, impressive feat. Also,
all these things, yes, but you're just ignoring the fact that he's bleeding out in the mud.
It doesn't matter, dude.
It does matter.
Okay.
If it doesn't matter,
fine,
I'll
right?
come and slice half your face off, and you'll just be like, "Oh, it doesn't matter."
But he's fine, right? That doesn't take away from the fact that
there's no way to tell. We haven't looked at the next episode yet. There's no way to know if he's okay.
That doesn't take away from everything that he's done. I mean, quite literally, the city is only standing because he was able to do what he did.
Okay, what if we compromise?
Cersei's only alive because of what he was able to do. I mean, everything. Like Stannis would rule the city right now.
Okay.
If Tyrion was not.
Let me suggest a compromise.
No. I don't agree with it. I just like so many of these have been so easy to agree with, but like the compromises, but like they just don't have nearly the impact in the episode.
Let me suggest the true winner of the episode.
As a joke, I'd be even more okay with that.
Again,
as a joke.
Your number one would be dead if we should be saying what we're doing for the audio listeners. A moment ago, I put the Hound up there as a compromise, and now I have Podrick at 1 because Zach's number 1 would be dead if not for the efforts of one Podrick. That is a joke. I think Podrick makes the list. I do not think he's number 1. Everything you're saying about Tyrion's efforts to save the city is accurate and true.
Other than a good performance by Cersei and the Hound, what do they actually contribute to the events of everything?
To your point, the gates would have been... Tyrion wouldn't have had his moment to shine where he attacks them in the rear if not for the Hound's efforts in driving the Baratheons off the beach in the first place.
The Hound could have been there or not, dude. It could have been a fucking 50 nameless men.
But it wasn't. It was the Hound, and he did work.
And he got
there.
scared shitless and left.
After a moment, he killed a bunch of dudes
and almost let himself be killed because he was scared of the fire.
Okay, so then Brawn is number 1.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, they're okay. If we had like categories for how we're grading this,
yes,
Tyrion would be
Cersei
first or
would
second
be number
in
one
almost every category.
No, if you're talking about like who had the best performance of the episode, it's Cersei. Tyrion's all quips in this episode. Not all quips, but mostly quips.
But again, dude, Cersei doesn't do anything in this episode. Like, she doesn't do anything. She's ready to kill herself.
And I think
that's
doing something. That's doing something. It may not be what you want. It may not be her fighting to save the city, but it is doing something.
She doesn't help anyone, dude. She doesn't contribute to the result of anything.
I don't rate that as being a reason. Like, she's still in a position of power. You're the one that always wants to bring up like who's in a good position like of power. And as of right now, do you think Tyrion is in a good position of power?
Legitimately, I swear I'm not just saying this because of my case for Tyrion.
No.
I genuinely mean this. When I watched this episode for the first time, I genuinely was like, finally Tyrion's gonna get his fucking like his nugget. Like, finally people are gonna be like, okay, Tyrion, like, you saved our asses. Like, he did so much for everybody. The entire defense was his.
He doesn't. He doesn't. And
he
probably
what happens in this episode is like it.
He should, and he deserves all the credit. I feel like you can't just... Okay, listen. In episodes past where we have had someone do something super awesome, but they've, like, died in the like, for example, I'm thinking of, like, Syrio and Yoren. They weren't number 1. At least I know Syrio wasn't. Yoren actually might have been, now that I think about it. But Syrio definitely was, like, number 5 when he did something really badass, but also died in the process.
Thing, he saved one person.
Tyrion saved one city. Like, that's just...
Tyrion saved the entire capital.
It's one thing. He's just saving one city.
Except it wasn't just one thing. It was planning the defenses, getting the map to go around and fuck them in the ass, doing
that was
the whole...
Varys. Now you just want to put Varys at number 1.
I mean, he asked for the maps.
I'm just...
he also does... He comes up with the plan for the wildfire, and in the midst of this battle, he rallies the men to protect the Mudgate.
And should have died in the process.
Look,
Podrick Payne, number 1.
If he had died, I would be like, okay, fine, put him in second.
No, see, I think it would honestly be almost better for Tyrion if he had.
Oh, okay, because he'd be a martyr. No, fuck you.
Not like in that instance, but like, well, I can't even say these things, so that's jumping ahead too much.
Precisely. Look, dude, Tyrion number 1, you put the rest out whatever you want.
That's not a good compromise.
He just does so much more than anybody. As of this episode, he's still the Hand of the King.
He's a dying Hand of the King, yes.
Sure.
Lost half of his face.
Sure.
It's much worse in the books. He loses his nose. Anyway.
He does, yeah.
I've
seen like illustrations of that, by the way.
It's fucking gross. He looks so gross. Well, he's also just much uglier, like
his
what's his name is a handsome man. But why can't
he has two different colored eyes in the book,
yes,
right?
Yeah, he has that monochromatic, whatever they call it, disorder. Boy, I am.
Your only look, dude. Your only argument is Cersei's performances. Is Lena
no, my biggest. That's part of my argument. My biggest thing is like, it doesn't feel right considering putting him at 1, considering where we leave him at the end of this episode, which is like, it's doing the whole like, oh, war, like someone got like a grenade just went off, or like all the sounds are fading out, and Tyrion is like bleeding out in the mud as like Pod cradles him. And it's just like, Tyrion's in a fucking bad spot, and you want to put him at number 1. That's my bigger thing.
Yes.
Also, Cersei and the Hounds, if we're going by just purely like actorial, that's a word.
But we're not.
Performance, I know, but I'm saying they are both better than him in this episode, as great as he is. So combine the fact that both of them are better.
It's as if you're just not acknowledging what he did in the episode.
I am acknowledging it.
No.
It's great,
look, literally, your entire argument right now has been he's in a bad way at the end of the episode, and his acting is not as great as Lena Headey and Roy McCann. That's it. But you're not mentioning what did Roy McCann, or I'm sorry, the Hound do, or Cersei do.
I'm not fighting for the Hound. I'm fighting for Cersei because I can't believe you, of all people, who have been fighting me on this for 2 whole seasons of like, who's in the best position of power, though? And now Cersei is in the best position of power, and she has the best performance, and she's not dying currently. You don't want to put her at number 1.
She's not in the best position, though, of power.
Well, that would be Tywin if we're really wanting to split hairs.
But just like Cersei, he doesn't. Actually, even better than Cersei, he actually does do something this episode.
Yes, but I can't hold that against Cersei because what is she supposed, like, she tells Sansa even like, look, I have to do these things because they're expected of me.
Can I give you a really good example of something?
What?
You know how you and I,
Joffrey? Oh,
no,
you're talking about something else entirely.
You know how you and I, we talk about like how we hate, for the most part, we hate the Star Wars trilogy, the newest one.
Yes, this is the longest to be thrown in history, by the way.
Yeah, it's okay. Look, man, we're passionate, and it's okay, dude. My fucking. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
This is like somebody saying that Jyn Erso is better than fucking.
I'm not even gonna rate this analogy because I already hate it,
dude. What I'm saying is that Cersei is a her position is a product of her environment. She things happen to her, things happen around her, putting her in the position that she's in. Tyrion made everything happen in this entire episode. Everything that happened in this episode was by Tyrion.
To be fair, that's not entirely true. Cersei was having the pyromancers make wildfire long before Tyrion even found out that was a thing.
And was that her plan?
Her plan was to throw it
burn
at the
fucking city.
Well, no. Her plan was to use pots and catapults to throw the wildfire at the enemy, to burn the enemy. Which, to Tyrion's point, this is a whole thing, but to Tyrion's point and Braun's point, like they talked about, is like, that could end up burning the city down by accident, because if, things happen,
you can't put it out.
You can burn yourself down. So I reject your assertion that she does nothing. Tyrion wouldn't have been able to seize her wildfire production and take it for himself if Cersei hadn't been doing it in the first place.
That didn't happen in this episode.
You literally were talking about, oh, this is the product of all of his efforts to save the city and blah, 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 blah. So
we're seeing the fruits of all of his labor that he has done in this episode.
And I'm saying he wouldn't have that wildfire for his big wildfire gambit if not for Cersei.
Well, he did because he seized it. So credit to him. And he figured out a much better way to use it.
You are obviously not going to relent, you stubborn son of a bitch. So
it just does not make any sense.
In the vein of moving forward and getting this fucking episode over, I will allow you to have Tyrion at number one, even though it's utter foolishness.
This is maybe actually. Let's finish the ranking, but I have to put something out to the peoples.
Oh, okay. We have 6 here, by the way. Are we dropping Brawn? I can see the argument for Tywin. Tywin's in this episode for about 10 total seconds.
Tywin, yeah, it's very brief, but I mean, it is.
It's an important, obviously, thing, but it is very brief. I don't feel like we can drop Pod, Cersei, or the Hound, obviously. So it comes down to Tywin does make the most sense.
You could have put anybody else who's a good longbow shot, and they could have accomplished what Braun did.
Well, yes, but again, it's. Well, you're just completely ignoring. One of the main criteria is how awesome they are for this fucking thing, and Braun is very awesome.
You're right. He is. I'm sorry. He definitely is. But
will Tywin get enough props next episode, or should he?
We're talking about here and now.
I know, that's my thing. Is like, if we're talking here and now, by rights, he should probably be number one. But he's just not in the episode enough for me.
So then put him at number 2.
Want that?
Wait, how are you not automatically going for Cersei number 2?
I am. I'm talking about who we need to get rid of, Tywin or Braun. We have 6.
Well, let's go down the rankings, and then whoever's left.
Fine.
All right, who next?
What?
I said, okay, now who's next?
I am. It's either the Hound or Pod for me. I don't have. Probably the Hound. He does more, and I think his performance is just better. I just love Pod being there, and obviously saving Tyrion is huge.
I think this is my vote. I think that it's the Hound, and then we can discuss. But I think that at 4. It's interchangeable. It's either Braun or Tywin, and then Pod at 5.
I think I agree completely with that. Because Pod's thing is brief and important, but it's there, and we want to acknowledge him for it, so I think he gets 5. Braun or Tywin, again, I feel like if we're even counting Tywin's appearance in this episode, by rights, he should probably be at number 1, but there's just not enough there for me. I feel stronger about what Braun does in this episode.
I can concede that.
Which makes me sad, obviously, because I adore Tywin.
Sure, I mean, but we've adored him.
Yeah, that's
enough.
true. We have given
and he will have plenty of adoration.
He will have plenty of adoration. Well. Okay, all right. I think we just leave that as is then, with Braun at 4. I can't. If we were to walk into this and tell me that Tywin didn't even make the list, I don't think I would have believed you, because I had my 3 candidates for number 1 were Tywin, Cersei, and the Hound.
Well, look, you have 2/3 of that equation, and I have 1/3. So
yeah, you're such a sack of shit.
Woe
I
is
fucking
me.
hate you so much. That is who we thrown in for this list. Final count is goddamn Zach. Tyrion at number 1, Cersei at number 2, the Hound at number 3, Braun at number 4, and Podrick Payne at number 5. That was holy shit. That took so long.
We need to hear. We need to hear from you listeners.
Please tell me about how right I am.
If there was ever a time that we needed feedback and for you guys to share your thoughts, in the comments, preferably of the YouTube video. So audio listeners, if you're, by the way, I mean, definitely no hard feelings if you're not watching the videos.
Even if you're a normal listener, just maybe go over there and leave us a comment.
Just hop over there and interact, because I feel like there's going to be a little bit more. It's just a good place to post for all of you guys to comment back and forth. Anyway,
it's one of the few places I actually see it too. So
right. One of the things that it makes me so sad that we didn't do YouTube content when we were doing Harry Potter is that there were so many DMs that we would receive from you listeners about like when Scott would have like a
truly terrible opinion,
a bad take on something, and they wanted me to say like oh, why didn't you say this, or like
Yeah.
or they would always say things like I was arguing with him like in my car, like I was like yelling at him, arguing.
It's so funny.
It's so funny, and I love that we can, invoke that type of emotion and passion from you all. But truly, obviously, both Scott and I are very passionate about this here.
Obviously.
We need to know what you guys think. Like this, to me, it just does not make any sense.
Help
like
Zach understand
I feel like
that one of these characters is had half his face cut off, and is in a bad way, and does not deserve the #1 spot.
I just believe that you were like, Tyrion's the obvious choice. I'm just gonna choose someone else.
No, that's not an
That's just how I feel, dude.
Dude, you know I adore Tyrion. You know who we forgot, actually?
Who?
Is my boy Dobbs! Where's my boy Mathos?
Dude, let's get Mathos on this list, man.
Let's get Drum Boy on here. Holy shit. It's so fucking hot in this room. I got Steamy fighting that battle against you, you son of a bitch.
Man. And,
get us the hell out of here.
And I prevailed.
I can't believe of the two of us, you were the more stubborn one in this instance. That is... I'm usually king
I
stubborn.
don't feel that passionate about that type of thing quite that often, so...
No.
It just did not make any sense.
Props to you, I guess.
You're losing your touch.
No,
when
you know what it is
arguing.
I feel like your room is just much more well ventilated than mine, so it was just
And you just want out of this
I
conversation.
just want out of this fucking room because I'm sweating my balls up.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I think that is going to do it for us. This was a fucking hell of an episode, and despite
Jesus
Scott
Christ,
and I
it's so
not being
long.
able to come to a genuine consensus in the Who Be Thrown In section, it is always a pleasure, my pal, my friend, my guy,
Yeah, sure. Fuck
my bosom buddy.
As always.
And we love you guys for hanging out and listening and interacting. So keep doing more of that. Like, comment, subscribe, click the little bell, flick the bean, all the good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.